On the news, Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki and Deputy Philip Shuaibu quits APC. Lagos suspends reopening of worship centers as the state records 216 new COVID-19 cases. And North Korea blows up joint liaison office with South Korea. Joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. Embattled Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has officially resigned from the ruling All Progressives Congress. The governor announced his resignation after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday. The Edo governor was on Friday disqualified from participating in the party's governorship primary over what the party described as faulty academic credentials. Speaking to State House correspondents in Abuja, Obaseki said since he was disqualified, he would pursue his governorship ambition on the platform of another political party.
I have now decided formally to resign my membership of the All Progressive Congress. Having done that, I will now announce in the next few days my specific line of action and what platform I will be contesting the gubernatorial elections. There is no inconsistency in my certificates. The issue was in 2016 when I contested for the gubernatorial elections. I could not find the originals of my certificates because I hadn't required them for more than 2 decades. So I deposed to an affidavit that I could not find the originals. Subsequently, I found all the original copies of all my certificates. And they are here with me. So I don't understand what is inconsistent about that. Maybe the inconsistency is in the youth corps certificate, where he said my surname was missing an I in the end. But if you look at that, it was like a cursive. It was written in a cursive manner. So if that's inconsistency for him, then it's really sad that you have people with that quality as leading Nigeria's ruling party. Unfortunate decision by the chairman of the All Progressive Congress. I've decided to go and seek my gubernatorial aspiration on another platform. These are my brother governors who are from my sub-region. Some of them have gone through the similar experience I'm going through. So it's only proper that when you have challenges of this nature, you go and talk to people who have gone through similar experiences for advice. This fight is not about grabbing political power. It's not about me. It's not about trying to prove a sense of importance. No, it's about, for us 21 years into this republic, democracy must mature.
Meanwhile, the Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu has followed in the footsteps of the governor by the campaign from the All Progressives Congress. Reacting to this, National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Lanre Isaonilu, said the party is not aware of Obaseki's resignation. Still on political matters, Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has paid a visit to President Muhammadu Buhari to officially inform him of his intention to seek re-election on the platform of the ruling All Progressives Congress. The governor also presented his expression of interest forms to the president at the meeting held inside the presidential villa in Abuja. While speaking to State House correspondents, the incumbent governor said continuity is the reason he's seeking a second term.
Before we run into the problem we have had with some governors before that come into office and abandon the work their predecessor commenced, continuity becomes a matter that all of us must be very, very consistent with. Because without continuity, I'm not saying everybody should stay beyond 4 years in the office. If you are not performing, fair enough. But if you are doing good work, the people should be able to give you that opportunity, give you the opportunity of completing a lot of work that are there in the pipeline that you have started. So I have so many roles that we have completed, but there are some roads that are still there that we are yet to complete before anybody will come and abandon it.
Residents of Katsina State have taken to the streets in the state capital to protest against the renewed bandit attacks, resulting in the loss of innocent lives and properties in the state. The peaceful protest, tagged "Stop the Bloodshed," drew members from a coalition of northern groups in conjunction with 6 relevant groups, including some civil society organizations in the state. This comes barely a week after similar protests in Katsina following an invasion of the state by over 200 bandits. The bandits reportedly killed over 50 villagers across 8 communities in Faskari local government area of the state. Meanwhile, the European Union has condemned the latest attacks on communities and villages in the northern parts of the country. In a joint statement on Tuesday, EU Vice President Joseph Borrell and Commissioner for Crisis Management Janez Lenasix noted that the attacks, abductions and killings of civilians by armed groups in northern Nigeria have led to the death of over 160 people, including 130 civilians, since May 28th. The Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, says tough times await rapists in the country. The minister said this in Abuja while addressing protesters who marched against the incessant cases of rape across the country. Tallen said the present administration has shown serious commitment in tackling the social menace and promised that justice will be swift and fair against any rapist caught. This comes on the heels of increasing rape cases in Nigeria, many of which ended in the death of the victim.
Mr. President is very angry. He is fully committed to see that we drive this point home. And he's working towards us having a zero tolerance of rape and gender-based violence. He has given a marching order to the Inspector General and also the Attorney General to ensure the General to ensure that any case taken to the police is handled with dispatch and that the enforcement should be done without delay.
You can see what I'm holding right here. This is red card to all rapists in Nigeria. It's not my heaven for them. They don't have to stay here anymore. We're telling them to leave Nigeria now because what they're going to see, the round we're going to give them, they cannot stand it. We have already declared them killer, and we are asking the president of Nigeria to declare a state of emergency to rape.
It's not supposed to be part of our culture, and it's not supposed to be part of our society. So in totality, we condemn it. And for those seeking for justice, like Vera and co, we are asking the Nigerian police and the federal government to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. No matter what it's going to take, they should ensure that they are brought to book.
Indecent dressing does not mean that I'm telling a man to come and rape me. Because all of us have children. We are mothers. We are fathers. I cannot afford to see any man that raped my own daughter, a child I carried for 9 months.
The Nigeria Police Force, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, have staged a common front against rape and sexual gender-based violence in the country. Arising from a tripartite meeting involving the heads of the 3 agencies, they resolved to fully implement the newly developed standard operating procedure on responses against sexual and gender-based violence. The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, assured Nigerians that they would collaborate with NAPTIP and the NHRC to create a comprehensive national response to the issues of sexual offense in Nigeria.
The Nigeria Police Force is taking full advantage of the state-of-the-art National Crime and Incident Database Center of the Nigeria Police, which is domiciled at the Force Headquarters, Abuja, with its capacity to spread in all the commands so as to collect, profile, store, and share records of SGBG, that is sexual and gender-based violence cases, with relevant stakeholders. The leadership of the police, NAPTIC, and National Human Rights Commission calls on prospective employers of labor to conduct thorough background check on individuals to be employed, particularly those whose job descriptions involve working with children and other vulnerable persons to ensure that prospective employees with criminal records and propensity for sexual offenses are not employed to sensitive positions.
The World Health Organization has charged public health authorities across the world not to lose sight of other significant public health issues like the southern influenza. Director General of the global body, Tedros Ghebreyesus, made this known at a recent media briefing on COVID-19 held in Geneva. The WHO DG urged health officials not to get distracted by the virus, adding that the influenza must remain a top priority at this period.
Influenza affects every country every year and takes its own deadly toll. As we enter the Southern Hemisphere influenza season and begin planning for the Northern Hemisphere season, we must ensure that influenza remains a top priority. Co-circulation of COVID-19 and influenza can worsen the impact on healthcare systems that are already overwhelmed. More than 500 million people are vaccinated against flu every year, based on recommendations from WHO on the composition of flu vaccines.
There are many people in Nigeria who are doing exceptional things with their talents. One of them is a 10-year-old who's currently making headway as one of the country's youngest saxophonists, thrilling thousands with her sound of music. Find out more in this next report.
From the age of 4, Temilayo Abodorin began playing musical instruments, starting with a keyboard. But as time went on, she developed a strong interest in the saxophone. 6 years after, she is a professional in her own right. After regular practice, she can now go 30 minutes non-stop playing the saxophone without getting tired. This skill is all thanks to the early discovery of her parents who helped nurture her talent.
When I was young, my parents got me toy instruments, musical toy instruments. And the one I loved most at that particular period of time was the keyboard, because anytime I play a sound, I'm able to repeat the same sound. So my parents saw that I liked the keyboard a lot. So when they got it for me, a mini keyboard, they now got me a teacher, and they saw that I was catching up with it. So I started learning the keyboard before I moved to the saxophone.
Abodorin doesn't just play the alto saxophone. She also learns to play other instruments like recorder, guitar, and drums. At just 10, she has shared the stage with several A-list artists and attended major shows across Nigeria.
Seeing her perform on the same stage with other big artists that even myself look up to them, you know, like, I don't think I'll meet them one-on-one, you know, but eventually because of her, we get to talk, we relate, they appreciate her.
In managing her education, Abodorin says her parents help maintain a balance between her musical career and school.
Mondays to Fridays, Mondays to Wednesdays, I focus more on my school, but like maybe in the evening, I practice then before I go to bed, yeah. And if I'm mostly from like Thursdays to Sundays, I do more of my saxophone, but I still read most times.
The multi-talented artist believes there's still a lot more to learn, and she's quite open-minded as she looks forward to what the future holds for her in the arts.
I like to take it as a career and something I'll continue doing, but who knows whether I want to continue doing other things, because I also like drawing. Well, I've not really had time to focus on drawing or how to learn how to draw. And if I'm a saxophonist, I'm also an artist. And if I'm a drawer, I also draw. I'm also an artist. So who knows, in the future I can be any of them, as long as I'm an artist.
Abodorin is a thriller in every sense of the word. On several occasions, she has received cash gifts for her excellent display of talent. The money she gets from her shows goes into a trust for her education. Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
You're still watching news now on TV360 Nigeria. Still to come, scientists seem to have made a breakthrough in the fight against COVID-19 with the drug dexamethasone.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app. If you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
You're welcome back. Here's a recap of the stories we've been bringing you at this hour. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki and Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu have decamped from the All Progressives Congress following Obaseki's disqualification from contesting in the party's primaries. Obaseki says he would announce his new party in due time. After 4 years in power, Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu is seeking re-election for his second term. The Ondo State Governor visited President Muhammadu Buhari today to officially inform him of his second-term plans, which he says is motivated by the need to complete the projects he began in his first tenure. In Katsina, youth are protesting in the streets of the state capital over the continued invasion of bandits. The protesting youths are under the coalition of northern groups. They've tagged the protest, Stop the Bloodshed. The federal government has warned that it will go tough on rapists. The Nigeria Police Force, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, and the National Human Rights Commission, NHRC, have also resolved to launch a national response against sexual offences in Nigeria. We also told you that the World Health Organization is warning public health authorities all across the world not to lose sight of other significant public health issues like the southern influenza. At a COVID-19 briefing held in Geneva, the WHO DG reminded health officials of the dangers of other diseases worldwide beyond COVID-19. Nigeria has recorded 573 new cases of the novel coronavirus. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, said this in a tweet via its official Twitter handle on Monday. The NCDC also stated that the nation recorded 4 additional deaths within the past 24 hours. The country's total infections have now risen to 16,658. Lagos reported the highest number of cases with 216 new cases, and Rivers was second with 103 new infections. Of the number confirmed, the NCDC stated that 5,349 persons have been discharged. The Lagos state government has suspended the reopening of worship centers across the state indefinitely. The government had earlier directed worship centers which were shut over the COVID-19 pandemic to reopen, but under strict guidelines. However, in a statement released on Tuesday, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu said all religious centers will remain shut until further notice. He added that all event centers and social clubs will also remain closed as the government continues to evaluate scenarios regarding the disease in the state. Lagos remains the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria with 7,319 cases. Medical trials in the UK have raised hopes of a major step forward in the treatment of patients who are seriously ill with the coronavirus. A cheap and widely available steroid, dexamethasone, has been found to increase the chances of survival for seriously affected people. It cuts the risk of death by 1/3 for patients on ventilators. For those on oxygen, it cuts death by 1/5. Researchers at Oxford University, who call it a major breakthrough, say the steroid prevents the immune system from overreacting to coronavirus. The drug is one of several that are parts of a major global study of potential COVID-19 remedies. We'll take a break now to join Onya Dukli when we return, who's standing by for business news. You're welcome back. Here's Onyi Adekunle with business stories.
Thank you, Aneta, and welcome to Business News. There have been growing concerns on the recent borrowing pattern of the federal government to fund its revised 2020 budget and other key government projects. Our correspondent Adeshewa Odushoga have been speaking to analysts on what they make of this latest development, which has since sparked a debate across the country. There's more in this next report.
Following the approval of a recent $5.5 billion loan by the Nigerian Senate for President Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigeria's debt sustainability has come under question. The president had sought the recent loan as part of the measures to finance its widening deficit, which is currently pegged at 3 trillion naira. While reacting to the borrowing spree of the federal government, the Director General of the Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association, NECA, Timothy Olawale, expressly warns that there is a need to worry about debt sustainability.
The cost of governance is extremely high in Nigeria. Governments must sum up the political will to drastically reduce the cost of governance so that its recurrent expenditure will drastically go down and its expenditure will be more like funding, capital expenditure, and productive spendings.
Olawale also observes that the Nigerian government may be borrowing for wrong reasons, adding that funding the recurrent expenditure with loans is not a good idea.
When government borrows to fund recurrent expenditure, payment of salaries, other luxuries in the budgetary provision, other than infrastructural development or capital expenditure, it is not productive. So if government goes ahead to borrow as it has been approved for it, we only urge that since it's fait accompli, government should use it to fund the 2020 provisions for infrastructural development and productive sector of the economy.
Laying emphasis on revenue generation, Olawale says that non-sustenance of the government's policies will put the nation at the edge of debt crisis, adding the government should invest more in the diversification of the Nigerian economy.
Our concern is that there is no sustenance of our policy. In other words, we start a policy, once we have a little bit of relief, we abandon it. The agricultural revolution, the Operation Feed the Nation, and the current drive to improve on the agricultural sector now remains to be seen whether it will be sustained. Government should look away from oil for now and focus on other sources of revenue.
In a recent report, the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning revealed that the country's debt service as a percentage of revenue has risen to 99% in the first quarter of 2020. Reacting to this, Nigeria's former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says the latest debt profile has put the nation into financial crisis. Adeshewa Odushoga, TV360, Lagos.
Stock market review is up next after this break. Another day, another decline on the Nigeria Stock Exchange. The bears have the market for the second straight day this week, and the all-share index dropped by 0.09% today, while the value of all listed equities also declined by 61 billion to close at 13.005 trillion naira. And BUA Cement made a rebound to lead gainers today with a 65 kobo increase. Fitson also maintained its winning streak as well, closing at 3.63 kobo per share. And that's from about 33 kobo from previous session. And sectorally, we see that equities in the services sector also remained the toast of investors today, as we can see Sky Aviation and Red Star Express also making significant gains at the close of trading today. And on the flip side, Flour Mill, MTN Nigeria, as well as Adova and CNI Leasing closed as the worst performers today. And in summary, we see that volume of shares declined by about 37 million units of the value from previous session, and of course value of shares also remained a little different from what we saw yesterday, a little over 100 million from that of previous session. 1.5 billion naira was the value of trade today, and that was exchanged hands in 4,194 deals. Moving on now to the foreign markets, FTSE and US stocks are surging as US Federal Reserve announced additional market stimulus. Nikkei is also up by more than 4.88%. And with that, it's a wrap on business. It's over to Aneta now for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Oyi. North Korea has blown up a joint liaison office with the South Korea near the North's border town of Kisong. The move comes just hours after the North renewed threats of military action at the Korean border. The site was opened in 2018 to help the Koreas communicate, but it has been empty since January due to COVID-19 restrictions. Responding to the offense, South Korea warned that it will respond strongly if the North continues to worsen the situation. Arsenal's winger Bukayo Saka has been nominated for the 2020 Golden Boy Award. The 18-year-old, who was nominated alongside his Arsenal teammates Gabriel Martinelli, has been one of the outstanding players for the Gunners this season. So far, he's scored 3 goals, provided 9 assists in 30 appearances in all competitions. And that's it on News Now. Thank you for watching.